something.
We ready?
Okay. Okay, good evening all. Welcome to the March 9th, 2021 Board of Education meeting. I need a motion to call the meeting to order, please.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For anybody who's not familiar with the emergency exits, we obviously have the two behind you and two in the corners and through the kitchen, if not need be. Let's hope not. I need a motion for the approval of order agenda, please.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Clerk's report, Christine?
Thank you, Mr. Springer. Be it resolved that the Board of Education accepts minutes of the business meeting held February 9, 2021.
I need a motion, please.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Public comment speakers will be recognized who wish to address the board on agenda items only. I think we're okay at this point, right? Okay. All right. We are going to start with the students of the month. And who are we going to have first?
We have the video that Mr. Godfrey will play.
Oh, all right, we're going to do that one.
Okay. As well.
All right, so it's a video presentation.
So it's like a 6-minute commercial break in the studio.
Not now.
Kayla is a very caring, kind, and bright young lady. Kayla is always doing her absolute best in everything that we do. She takes her time while completing assignments and finishes them in a neat and organized manner. Kayla is kind and respectful to all of her peers. She is always thinking of others and includes any of those who may feel left out. Kayla is a great example of a student who is passionate, determined, and caring towards others. We admire the way she strives for success on a daily basis. After graduating college, Kayla hopes to come back to Southampton town and to be a career as a police officer. We know she's going to do great things. Thank you, Kayla. We are very proud of you. Congratulations. No one deserves it more. Good evening. She is always thinking of others and includes any of those who may feel left out. Kayla is a great example of a student who is passionate, determined, and caring towards others. We admire the way she strives for time learning on her tablet and playing Roblox, a favorite among middle school students. Division and what happens with numbers when you move the decimal point around. She told me she loves school and loves learning with Mrs. Moran because it is fun and she can do it with her friends in class. When not in class, Geraldine asked about her favorite subject. Geraldine listed the following: math and science. Good evening to our Board of Education. It is my pleasure to introduce Hampton Bays Middle School Student of the Month, 5th grader Geraldine Sanchez. Congratulations, Geraldine.
Thank you.
Geraldine, who is a member of Mrs. Moran's 5th grade class, is a bright ray of light at Hampton Bays Middle School. When asked about her favorite subject, Geraldine listed the following: math and science. She went on to add social studies and reading. Geraldine expanded on her response by adding that she enjoys the challenge of doing division and what happens with numbers when you move the decimal point around. She told me she loves
school and loves learning with Mrs. Moran because it is fun and she can do it with her friends in class. When not in class, Geraldine enjoys time with friends who she plays board games and card games with during lunch. At home, Geraldine plays with her little sister and her family's dog. She also enjoys time learning on her tablet and playing Roblox, a favorite among middle school students. When asked about her plans after middle school and high school, Geraldine was quick to answer that she is going to college and aspires to become a teacher. She is eager to be able to teach children how to do math, so they love math the same way she does. Her experience at school over the last 12 months have her feeling confident that she is able to teach students in person or online, either in hybrid or remote. When asked about her favorite book, author, series, or genre, Geraldine shared that she has recently completed the book called Smile, a classic novel about life as a middle school student. Geraldine also mentioned having a love for books written by Mo Willems, Lois Ehlert, and Patricia Polacco, because these stories have been shared by her teachers. I'm always eager to listen to advice from students like Geraldine when it comes to being a successful middle school student. And no surprise, her words left me feeling inspired. She told me, always trust in yourself and never give up. And if you feel stuck, don't be afraid to ask for help. The last question I ask students to share is something about themselves that I didn't ask. Geraldine was quick to tell me this: I am focused in school. I do great at school. When I struggle, I don't quit. And I'm friendly because it's always good to have friends by your side. Well, Geraldine, we will always be by your side at Hampton Bays Middle School. We are proud of you and look forward to many great things to come in your future. Congratulations on being selected as Student of the Month.
Good evening, students, parents, guardians, board members, and fellow colleagues. It is my pleasure to introduce Caitlin Frisha as the Hampton Bays High School February Student of the Month. This year has been a challenging year for everyone, and our students have to dig deeper than ever in finding strength, stamina, and perseverance. Through all of these challenges, Caitlin has excelled academically and sounds centered, content, and focused, all the while learning remotely since September. I asked her about her secret. Her answers were staying grounded, continue to pursue her passion of dance, and prioritize stress. Sound advice that we all should follow. Caitlin joined the high school during her sophomore year, and after an initial cultural shock, fit right in. Caitlin loves humanities and yearns for all courses that develop her writing. In her own words, quote, "My love for Hamlet is owed to Mr. Dolphon." Caitlin is also an accomplished dancer, specializing in Irish dance. She even traveled to Ireland to compete, an experience that has impacted her on so many levels. Interestingly enough, it was the business department that nominated Caitlin for this award. In general, Caitlin does not consider herself a math enthusiast, but she took this class as her mother's suggestion, which presented math in logical, applicable, and interesting way. As for Caitlin's future, it looks really bright. Caitlin applied to a number of big-name schools such as Penn State, Western New England University, and the University of New Haven. She told me that right now, Boston College is her top choice. Whichever college or university Caitlin chooses, I am sure that she will be successful and will contribute to our society. We at Hampton Bays High School are so proud for her to represent us. Caitlin, congratulations on your award. Well deserved.
Thank you.
Okay. We will now continue with our Veterans of Foreign Wars recognitions, and I believe we'll start with Mr. Richard.
Mr. Shug, actually.
Mr. Shug, okay.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce the Veterans of Foreign Wars New York State Teacher of the Year, Mrs. Carol Ann Mazur. Congratulations. Stand up here with me. Welcome, Carol Ann, to your dedicated family, Mr. and Mrs. Buchicha. I had that on my phone. I'll put my phone down. Not your sneezing, she said. She reminded me. Welcome. Also, welcome to her husband, Michael, and children, Michael, Matthew, and Carmine. You must be very proud of your mom. She's a wonderful lady, a wonderful teacher. Ms. Mazur was recently recognized by our VFW Post 5350 in West Hampton for this distinct honor of Veterans of Foreign Wars New York State Teacher of the Year. We are grateful to our years-long partnership with Commander William Hughes and the entire Post. Thank you for your service and the integral role you'll play in middle school students experiencing the living classroom. Being able to meet and read about our local heroes adds meaning to flag ceremonies and our annual participation in the Patriots Pen Essay Contest. Congratulations also to our students who are recognized with a certificate and generous gift from the VFW Post 5350. Hampton Bays Middle School is proud of Olivia Allen, Jack Kiernan, and Olivia Downs for being recognized for their exceptional essays responding to the question, what is patriotism to me? But I'd like to take the opportunity now to share more about our VFW New York State Teacher of the Year, Ms. Mazur. A music teacher in the Hampton Bays School since 2004, she began her career as an elementary school music teacher, and in 2008, a middle school music teacher. I have had the good fortune to work directly with Ms. Mazur since 2010. During that time, Mrs. Mazur has shown herself to be an enthusiastic and organized music teacher who prides herself on learning new things to improve the learning lives of our students. Her primary duties have included teaching chorus and band, as well as general music classes to students in grades 5 through 8. In addition to her primary duties of teaching band, chorus, and general music in the classroom, Mrs. Mazur is viewed as a leader in her department. Her expertise in logistics is critical to well-attended, safe, and successful concerts through every season. In recent years, she has brought a joy and appreciation of music into the students' lives through ukulele, keyboard, and world drumming, and through general music. She's led large ensembles and has worked with students on an individual basis through our summer music program. Many students have picked up and started their love for playing music under the caring guidance of Mrs. Mazur's expertise. Mrs. Mazur has prepared and led choral ensembles that have performed at Radio City Music Hall, American Young Voices, and our Hampton Bays school flag ceremonies honoring local veterans. Mrs. Mazur is also a teacher who leads a vast number of school spirit activities. Proud to include students from all walks of life, she has proven time and time again that she is skilled in bringing together people from different areas around a common cause. She has co-directed our school plays, has co-hosted our school podcast, has organized a school-wide music video, and serves annually as one of our kindness captains in the annual Middle School Kindness Challenge. As a student council co-advisor, she works to create inclusive and inviting experiences that make our whole school smile. Mrs. Mazur has prepared students to successfully compete in NYSSMA, HMIA, and SCMIA music competitions, and has accompanied students on college campus visits to explore opportunities for careers in the music field. As a veteran teacher, Mrs. Mazur also continues to give back to her profession, serving as a new teacher mentor. Her energy and passion for teaching and learning new material is unmatched. In closing, Mrs. Mazur is someone who takes great pride in civic responsibilities as a teacher. Each day she demonstrates her appreciation for the past and her investment in the future as she prepares middle school students for daily and future success. Congratulations, Carol Ann Mazur, on this distinct recognition partnership with our Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 5350.
Do you have a speech? Congratulations,
Yes,
Carolyn.
Yes, congratulations.
Okay, now we will have Mr. Richard, if you'd like.
Thank you, Mr. Springer. It's great to be here this evening. Haven't seen you all in a while. This is an evening that I particularly enjoy. As principal of the high school, I get to present our valedictorian and salutatorian once per year. And this year, our valedictorian and salutatorian, Katerina and Tara, they've literally broken the molds in every sense of the word. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about what they do when they leave Hampton Bays. But for now, we're going to celebrate what they've accomplished. So I'd like to begin by introducing the salutatorian of the class of 2021, Katerina Reich. Katerina. Katerina has a weighted grade point average of 101.24, and she's accomplished this across taking 10 advanced placement courses during her time at Hampton Bays High School. She is an AP scholar. She's a member of the National Honor Society, a member of the Triumph Music National Honor Society, a member of our Interact Club, a varsity tennis player, and a thespian. She is the president of our band and co-president of our chorus. Music runs deep in her genetic code. In fact, Katerina has performed now 3 times at Carnegie Hall. She has participated on behalf of Hampton Bays at Hamia, Scamia, Niscame. If there is a music award to be given, Katerina has received it and has earned it many times over. She has been a RILA facilitator, and she's a member of the research and science program at Hampton Bays with Dr. Forsberg. Her topic of study is audiology and has been very specifically working in the area of cochlear implants in adolescents with Dr. Stupak at NYU. So again, we are a musician, we're an academic, we're a scholar, we do it all here. We're looking at a major in neuroscience, and we've got a very, very competitive list of colleges to which she's applied. Thus far, we've got URI and Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute fighting over her, offering her over $190,000 in scholarship and financial awards. We are still waiting to hear from Brown, Cornell, Johns Hopkins, Binghamton, Stony Brook, Vanderbilt, Yale, BU, and another pile of schools there that all would be very, very fortunate to have Katerina as a member of their student body. She represents everything that's right with education in Hampton Bays, and she makes us more and more proud each and every day. So I present her to the Board of Education, and Katerina, this is your medal signifying your accomplishment as salutatorian of your class. It is now my distinct honor to present the valedictorian of the class of 2021, Tara Lauder. Tara, why don't you come on down? I thought a lot about what I was going to say about Tara, and she's a force to be reckoned with. The world is going to have to reckon with Tara Lauder in many different ways. She'll be, right now, she's got 101.74 weighted average. She's taken 8 advanced placement courses. She is the president of her class, and she's literally at the core of everything we do here in this building. I don't know how she does it. She is a member of the Leo's Club, the Key Club. She's a musician in our band. She's an athlete on our track team. She participates in Model UN outside of Hampton Bays High School. She's in our chorus. She's a freelance writer for our student newspaper, The Tide, because she has spare time. She's a member of the National Honor Society, the Triumph Music National Honor Society, and she is also a thespian. She is a research scientist with Dr. Forsberg, much like Katerina, and she's working with her mentor, Dr. Parikh, at Stony Brook University on cardiovascular risk factors. Okay. Again, she was in Newsday most recently, it was 2 weeks ago, I think, right? 2 weeks ago for the virtual dance program that she's been volunteering her time towards with students in the elementary school. This summer, this is a career first for me after 25 years. When she graduates this year in June, she will also graduate very quickly from Suffolk Community College with an associate's degree. So we've got a college graduate as well as a high school graduate here on our hands. She's been accepted to 17 of 23 schools to which she's applied. 4 of them now include full rides. We're looking at a major in health sciences or biology. Either way, she's going to conquer the world. Ladies and gentlemen, our valedictorian, Tara Lauder.
Thank you, Mr. Richard. Congratulations to all of you. Excellent job. I think we'll take a quick little break, and then we'll be back with Mr. Clemenson.
Congratulations. You're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to go get ice cream, moms and dads, and Mike. We're ready to go.
Okay, for all of you that stayed,
I hear it.
I believe you're up, Mr. Clemenson.
All right. Hello, everyone.
Yours.
Mr. Godfrey, I'll go to the slides. Members, the reports in your packets there. We have about 12, 14 people watching us right now, so welcome to those folks tuning in remotely. We are opening the valve. You'll hear me say that a few times. It was nice to have people back in the cafeteria for board meetings tonight. You'll remember this time last year was the board meeting where we were talking about a potential 2-week closure, and we invented the Bayman Bump, right? So trademark 1 year old. Happy birthday, Bayman Bump. And here we are a year later, and COVID on our mind, vocabulary words like pivot, unprecedented, remote, hybrid, things we never thought we would be saying. A lot of challenges along the way, most importantly challenges for our kids, and we're in what we are really hopeful to be is a position of recovery, a position of the days are getting longer, the numbers are going down, we're changing the clocks this week. There's a hopefulness to what we're doing, and we're allowed to be excited about that. We're allowed to say, let's take the next step and feel normal, feel more normal, get back to what is so great about the Hampton-based schools, and really acknowledge the tremendous lift that everybody has made in the last year. So I'm reflective this week, it being a year in. Couple of updates tonight on some plans that we have ahead of us. So I'll start with enrollment. We're pretty static. We're pretty steady at 2,032 kids in the district K through 12. So a little higher than we anticipated this year, but not that much. And we're happy to have all of those individuals. Kindergarten registration's underway right now. We are going to move kindergarten screening to July this year. We did it last year in July. Typically, we had done it in April. We do the screening, get to start to place kids. We're doing that while we're still teaching. We're bringing in subs, and it's a little bit, Ms. Colleen knows the hecticness of kindergarten screening. Out of the crisis of COVID came the opportunity to screen in July, and the teachers loved it. They got to focus on it. We brought them in the mornings in July to get that work done. They met the kids individually in a really focused way and made some great placements. So we're going to try that again this year. Great. And so kindergarten families are coming in, and it's great to see them. The Clemensons are a kindergarten family, and I actually had to go to the registrar and say, how do I fill this paperwork out? And she goes, you're the superintendent. Like, you give this to all the other families. It's like, yeah, but I never really paid attention to the nuts and bolts of the paperwork in the packet. But Ms. Pilar is bringing all of our families in, welcoming them to the Hampton-based schools. We're super excited to have that class join us. Remind you of our valved opening. We upgraded. We have a new valve. If you've been following along each month, the slides are upgraded. We've got a brand new valve because we're ready to open it a little bit more. So we're in phase 3. We've been in phase 3 since the beginning of October, and we play in the sandbox. The sandbox is our data, metrics that are reported by the Department of Health, the guardrails, yellow zones you'll remember, orange, red zones, capacity, dining capacity, gathering capacity, sports, no sports, our data of actual positive cases, our ability to implement that guidance, the changing and sometimes competing recommendations between the Suffolk County Department of Health, New York State Department of Health, the United States CDC, and all of the elected officials in between, all of the parent groups, all of the educator groups, a lot of different moving pieces, but those are the guardrails that really kept us in the arena to be making decisions through the year. And the tools, the things that we refer focused on as we were making decisions was always keeping health and safety as the top priority, our ability to implement the protocols that are we're being mandated to follow, instructional effectiveness, making decisions that at the core kept high-quality teaching under very difficult circumstances for kids and staff, impact on mental health. We know there's anxiety, there's isolation. The normal trappings of being a kid and going to school are only magnified in this challenging time, and then the impact on academic success. So that's really the filter we run every question through. Is it going to help kids academically? Is it going to help their mental state, their sense of belonging and sense of place? Or do we have the ability to do it? We're going to do it well, and are we going to be able to keep people healthy and safe as we're doing it? So I'll remind you quickly, I'll take you through a little bit of a bird walk on where we've been. This careful and measured reopening while we're living in phase 3, each month has looked a little bit differently. So we were able to turn that valve, bring pre-K in at 100% in November. Academically at-risk students in the high school started coming back in on Mondays right in December. In January, live Monday instruction was developed at the middle school for kids at academic risk, and then anyone who wanted some additional face time with their teachers. We were bringing in at that time in-person learning 4 days a week, and sometimes on Mondays too, for kids who were academically at risk or SEL at risk. Their mental health was determined by our support team to be a higher risk, to get kids in as we could. In February, remote Mondays became a thing of the past for purple and white cohort students when they could be in person. We activated our athletic programs with our winter season. In March, we brought back special education and English as a new language students in grades 7 through 12. So we have been continually marching forward, building capacity each month. We think we're ready. We don't think we're ready. We are ready to keep taking the next steps. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight. On making the next steps, because we still have a whole marking period. We have a quarter of a year plus that's left, and that's a lot of time to get with our kids and do great stuff and have those experiences. When you hear the whistle, when you heard the sneakers squeaking on the court, it felt really good. It felt like school was coming back, and we proved to ourselves that it works, that the protocols that are in place are working. So let's remind ourselves of the CDC guidance, because that is our driving documents and expert mandates that are put on us nationally, and then they're distilled to the local level down here in Suffolk County and then Hampton Bays. So in early February, the CDC released a return to schools guidance document. A lot of talk during the presidential campaign by both candidates that schools need to be reopened. You know, some districts like Hampton Bays would scratch their head and say, well, we're open. There are places in the United States where there's no in-person instructions, places in New York State where there's no in-person instruction happening right now. So the guidance document speaks to everybody that has a situation like Hampton Bays with in-person, hybrid, and remote to much more restrictive circumstances. In that February document, there were not substantive changes that were noted. So the reopening plans were not drastically changed. They were not dismantled and rebuilt again. Capacity issues were still front and center. Distancing, face coverings like masks, hand washing strategies, cleaning and maintaining healthy facilities, and then a very sophisticated contact tracing program. All of those were the bread and butter of our reopening plan since July 31st. It was reinforced in the CDC guidance in February. So we knew we were reinforced that we're on the right track, that we're making the right decisions. And we're moving as fast as we can, but as slow as we must. So the two mitigation strategies for COVID are the universal and correct use of masks, remarkable compliance by staff, students, and faculty. We really don't have those challenges of masks. You know, every now and then you'll have to tap a student, you tap your own nose to remind them, get that up a little bit, tuck it up. But masks are, we really feel comfortable there. Cohorting and potting, none of this is new information to those of you who have been with us every step of the way. Different counties have made different decisions as sports have come back online. Suffolk County made the decision for the winter season to not have spectators. Well, I'll talk about that in a little bit, where we now have spectators for the fall sports that are happening now, and we'll have them for the spring as well. Higher risk sports, we have weekly testing, weekly COVID testing, in understanding that the kids are taking an additional risk by engaging in those activities. We monitor that more intensely. Suffolk County is a leading county in New York State. Not every county is doing that. Across Route 110 in Nassau, that's not happening. I believe that that gives us another level of assurance that there's not school spread happening. And remarkably, I'm proud of our athletes for saying sports are a priority for us, so I'm going to limit my behavior outside of school. Our athletes are staying healthy because they want to play. They want to be part of those experiences. So the guidance just reinforced that we continue to move in the right direction. As our numbers come down and vaccinations go up, the elements are coming together for us to keep moving forward. A moment on vaccinations. The governor announced yesterday that 60-year-olds and older are now in the eligible pool, and that Stony Brook Southampton College campus right here in Shinnecock Hills is going to be a state site, similar to Jones Beach or the Aqueduct or other Javits Center, other places like that. The challenge still remains to be doses. So you can have all of these facilities ready to vaccinate people, and you can have all of these big eligible pools of people, but doses continue to be the challenge. With Johnson & Johnson's approval, we're seeing more and more individuals get their vaccinations. We're almost to a third of our faculty and staff who have received the full regimen of vaccination. So we have about 70% of our folks who are ready and want that vaccine. About a third of them are done, and so we just continue. It's like a street fight, grabbing appointments and trying to get folks who want that vaccine or can get the vaccine to actually get it. We expect guidance in the coming days from Suffolk County Department of Health Services that quarantine rules for vaccinated individuals are going to change a little bit. New York State adopted month-old CDC guidance that those who are fully vaccinated, so that's 2 shots if it's Moderna or Pfizer, or 1 shot for Johnson & Johnson. If you're considered fully vaccinated, you do not have to quarantine if you engage in domestic travel or if you are identified as a close contact to a positive case. So we expect that guidance to come out soon on how to operationalize that. How do we prove someone's vaccinated? Do we have to have a copy of the vaccine card? Can we take someone's word for it? What do those things mean? What if parents are traveling outside of the state and don't have to quarantine, but the children aren't vaccinated? What are the rules there? We're waiting for that guidance. We're asking those questions, so we're making sure that our needs are met when the guidance comes out. So no change for that right now. We have quarantined individuals who had traveled, to Florida over February break. Mr. Carlson has a very intricate remote plan for quarantined individuals at each grade level. It is brought down to the minute. What child is in, what child is out, day by day. He works with a team of teachers who make sure that if, particularly K to 5, who aren't live streaming into their classes, like 6 through 12 are, that they're having an in-person engagement remotely if they have to be quarantined, or if they're quarantined as a result of being a close contact, or if they're sick themselves. So we expect the guidance to change. It just hasn't changed at this time. We also expect the guidance to only be good for 90 days. And that doesn't mean that the CDC or the State Department of Health or Suffolk County believes that the vaccine is only good for 90 days. It's so new that they're giving themselves the protection of saying, we're going to reassess this. In 90 days, we're going to have a lot more data. In 90 days, it's going to be close to the end of the school year anyway at that point. So it's going to become a moot point, but we anticipate that once more data on the efficacy and success of these vaccines is submitted, that it'll be extended. But right now, when we get the guidance, we expect it to be 90 days. So we continue to consider the question of in-person learning and returning to more in-person learning, turning that valve. And you'll see regionally, you'll see statewide, and on some levels nationally, that it's not a question of if, it's really a question of when. Because at some point the pandemic is going to be fully over, and we want to be driving towards being back to full speed. We want to be strategic, incremental. We want to identify obstacles early. We want to include all of our stakeholders. We want to reassemble that reopening task force this month. We had about 30 individuals who served representing stakeholder groups in July and August. We want to pull them back together this month to have that conversation about how we can be bringing more folks, more kids back into school in a safe way that it still adheres to the guidance. We're not going to compromise the guidance and the restrictions, that the safety protocols that are in place. So just a sense of the landscape on where we are enrollment-wise, 23% of our total student population is fully remote right now. 12% of our elementary school students, 18% of middle school students, and 36% of high school students. Families have made the decision to be remote for a number of different reasons, and we have the infrastructure to allow that. So 77% of our kids are coming in a hybrid model, K to 6 every day, 7 through 12, purple and white. As we look at where our COVID cases are, this is good news. We currently have 63 individuals on quarantine right now. That number was 78 in February at the February board meeting. It was 157 at the January board meeting. So more than two points to determine the slope of a line. 3 makes us feel really good about it. I was an English teacher, but I learned a lot from Mr. Carlson on determining the slope of a line. So we have 3 data points here in 2021 that, again, give us that confidence to be looking in the right direction. We have 1,100 kids and staff members who have been in some form of quarantine since the beginning of the year because of close contact or proximal contact back in the early days of the school year. So it was remarkable. 174 cases cumulatively as of today. So take a look at this graph. September, we had no cases. Our first case was October 15th. We had 8 cases then. We had more than 3. That's a typo in November. We had about 30 cases because we were averaging 1 a day, so November 30th. In December, we were averaging just a little less than a case a day. And then in January, as the surge pushed through the winter, we were averaging almost 2.5 cases a day. Sometimes it was 1, sometimes it was 0, other times it was 4, 5, 6 cases that were being reported. In February, we were back down again. We continue to be cautiously optimistic. The springtime, more vaccinations, people adhering to the right protocols, keep driving that number down. Do the variants that are giving some medical professionals concern, do they push us back up again? Thankfully, we have a valve. So we continue to watch it. We watch it by the day, and there's the data. The next 2 slides show you sort of the layout of the year. So the slide that's on the screen right now looks at day 1 to day 179, 180, wherever we are right now. Day 1 is September 8th. Day 37 is October 15th, and you could see when the first case was reported. Take a look at where Halloween was. We saw a little bump after Halloween, and then we started to grow. By November 13th, we were doing in-school testing as a yellow zone. After Thanksgiving, we saw that other bump, and then, man, we hit the gas after January 1st, and the numbers were rising. This is average cases per day. So remember, there's a lot of zeros at the front of that because we didn't have our first case. So right now, we've hit that plateau. We're averaging about a case a day over the course of the whole school year. The next slide is even more important because it takes that red bar graph that you see and it overlays the actual cases that we were experiencing, the number of cases, the average number of cases per week. So you can see that in January, we were averaging almost 4 cases a day. So while the red line is plateauing at about 1, and we hope that that's the top of the mountain and we start to come back down, you can see that if you just look at the blue, that tells a really nice story about us moving in the right direction. More windows will open soon. We'll be outside more. We saw low numbers in the spring and summer, so we're hoping to replicate that again as we enter the next spring and summer. So Mr. Faro's phenomenal Excel skills and data keeping skills put all this together and really shows a good picture of where we've been, and it reinforces that the decisions that we've made have been based on this data. We were more restrictive when the numbers were higher. The numbers are coming down, and we can take these steps to increase our capacity. So as we continue to consider return to in-person instruction, we want to maximize student achievement, of course. We want to attend to the mental and social emotional needs of our kids. We want to alleviate disruption to the household schedule. When we giveth, we don't want to have to taketh away. So we know families are really juggling right now and have precarious supervision and juggling schedules. We don't want to open the valve and then have to close it again and disrupt parents having to go to their bosses and say, I need more accommodation. So we've been very conservative in how we've approached that. We are pushing and wanting that greater sense of normalcy, but understanding that even as we bring more kids back, we're still far from normal. This is not normal, right? Barriers, not normal. Testing every week, not normal, but it's our normal right now. So we have to kind of paint the picture with that brush over everything, that as normal as we want and as normal as we're getting, we're just not there yet. And we want to be responsive to all stakeholders. You talk to 10 people have different needs through this pandemic, right? I need my kids to be in school full time. I need my kids to not be in school because of risk of transmission and bringing something into the house. People are all over the place, and so the plans and the decisions that we make, while maybe rejoiced at one kitchen table, are cringeworthy at another kitchen table. So we try to be sensitive to that. As we bring the reopening task force back together, this is their work that they have to do. This is the work of the Board of Education. It's the work of our staff as well. I put hurdles there because these are not problems, they're just hurdles to get over. Returning to in-person instruction will mean, in some cases, decreasing distance below 6 feet. We will have, that is within guidance, provided there is a barrier there as well. So we have clear desk shields that exist throughout the district, incidentally, in this pocket or that pocket where you can't guarantee that 6 feet. If you walk through the high school, you'll notice that it's primarily in the front row of the desks so that the teacher can move about the front of the room and understand that sometimes they're within 6 feet of the kids who sit in that front row. That gives them the protection. They have a mask, some level of distance. They're not on top of each other. They have some level of distance, and they have a barrier. Until just recently, Suffolk County was very consistent with not coming below that 6 feet, even with a barrier. But as we move towards the spring and we move towards watching this data, a mask, a barrier, and distance end up being some tools that we can work with, with a little bit more freedom than we did in the winter months. We know that there'll be increased density during transitions. Bringing more kids back means we are going to see potentially more quarantine with positive cases, because the Suffolk County Health Department, while they acknowledge barriers are good at decreasing transmission, they're still going to quarantine if you've been within 6 feet of somebody. We do have some colleague districts who have been within 6 feet with barriers. They don't cite school spread either, but they have to follow those stricter quarantine rules. So as we bring more kids back in, we would expect, and we would have to expect, and be okay with, more quarantine if there is a positive case and you happen to be within 3 feet front to back with a barrier and mask. We would still need to institute that quarantine for 10 days. We understand that there are challenges to cafeteria and food service, bringing kids together to eat, additional cleaning of desks, additional supervision. We still have the challenge of music and PE having statewide guidance. Be 12 feet of distance. There's advocacy happening in Albany right now to change that, but right now it's 12 feet. the logic of we can wrestle, but we have to be 12 feet in PE and music doesn't connect for a lot of people, understandably. So that's being discussed, but Lars doesn't make the rules. Lars has to follow the rules, so does the school district, so do we all. We need parent and student commitment to their instructional model. So we will be putting out a survey to families. We need folks to commit to the model because capacity in each room we're back to September, where we're really measuring inches and seats, and so the toggling back and forth isn't something that we're going to ask people to commit for that last quarter. So we're going to communicate that with students in grade 7 or families in grade 7 through 12 this week, asking all families, because we understand that if kids come back and there are barriers and 3 feet, some families may not be okay with that, and they're going to make that personal decision, and that's okay. So we may have some students make that decision to go remote. We may have some students make the decision to go from remote inside. While we engage in this process, we're asking that everybody freeze where they are. If you're remote, I need you to stay remote. Just let us know what you want to do. Just stay remote. If you're in person, stay in person. Just let us know because we have to buy more desk barriers. We don't want to buy what we don't need and waste that money. But we will not have kids and staff in place where we don't have masks, barriers, and distance to the extent that we can have it. So that's sort of the compact that we have to put out there on the table for we all have to understand that. We all have to agree to that. We all have to be okay with that and then make decisions based on that. So that's why we're going to keep our remote program in place for families who want to who choose to stay remote through the end of this year.
Lars,
Yes.
how will that work with a new student after that deadline who comes into the school? Do they have a period of time to make a decision?
So Rich's question was, what happens when we have a new student who comes in? So incidental new students, they would decide to come in person or remote. Thankfully, springtime, new entrants, that number dips a lot, so it won't be something we're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. We typically see a new enrollment surge in January again, then it tapers off, so we'll handle that on a case-by-case basis. There are situations where a student's schedule, for example, might have, if there's not room in a classroom because we can't accommodate. And again, we have weeks to work on this. I'm going to talk about a timeline in a few minutes. So I'm kind of throwing a lot at the wall right now. If there's 9 periods in a day, if 2 of those periods we just couldn't meet the guidelines, we have study halls and the ability to still learn remote because there are remote kids in every class. So if you're a student who can get into 8 of your 9 classes, but one of those periods you go to the study hall and you put your earbuds in, that's an option too. So we have lots of ways to skin the cat, so to speak, and we're going to operationalize that this month as we propose to bring more and more students back. To cut to the quick of it, and we'll talk about this in a few slides, but to cut to the quick of it, we are ready to bring seniors back on Monday, March 15th. Seniors who want to come back. We're going to ask the seniors who are remote to just freeze there for a moment until we can order the necessary desk shields after we get a sense for, are there full remote seniors who want to come back into the program. We're going to start with the purple and white cohort seniors, bring them back. There's not a lot of mitigated space where we're within 6 feet. I'll talk in a moment about what it looks like when you're under 6 feet. But we have the desk barriers. Larry had ordered an ample supply of them, so we're able to focus on the senior rosters and the senior classrooms and populate that. There's about a 3-week lag time, 3 to 4 week lag time on more barriers because every school district is ordering them right now because we're all going through this reopening in-person process. So seniors are one we can start with and maintain guidelines. 7 through 11, we need a little bit more time on until we get the equipment in the building. So we can begin with seniors on Monday. As the classrooms, and Mr. Godfrey, could you, on the spot, toggle down to slide 26 for me? Please, I'll show you what a classroom looks like. Are we there? Good. So there's a classroom. As we go to slide 27, 6 feet of social distance, both longitudinally and latitudinally, right? 6 feet in front, 6 feet to the side. That's your dancing space. That's what you get. To increase capacity in the room, we would go to the next slide there and bring in those green desks. Now you'll notice that there's still gaps because we would put the barriers on slide 29 there, Mr. Godfrey. And those barriers would add a plexi shield on each desk front to back. Now students sit here at a desk and the shield is here, right? So the barrier moves you, the barrier is the protection and within the guidance front to back. But laterally speaking, if Mr. Springer has a shield in front of his desk and I have a shield in front of my desk, we are still laterally, there's no barrier. So 6 feet will not be compromised in this direction, which is within the guidance, because there's no barrier here. If we had a barrier, we could come a little bit closer. But the barriers will be, because they're not phone booths, right? They stop at the desk. And unless you're inside the barrier, then you have to maintain the 6 feet, which we would do. So you can see that that's how we would reconstruct that classroom. Not every classroom, every period will have a situation like this. A number of our classes will still have 6 feet because of just the enrollment in that class, the number of kids who might be remote, fully remote in that class. So let's go back, Mr. Godfrey, to slide 14, please. So Mr. Richard has literally gone around every room with a yellow pad, a tape measure, and his roster, and he's at various points dragged us all around with him so we could look at each room, right, and count it out. Mrs. Fox and Mr. Shug are doing the same thing at the middle school. Middle school's cohorted, so it's less of a dynamic situation, right? It's less period by period because the 7th and 8th graders are in their room all day and the teachers come to them. So that was a less logistical challenge to overcome. We just needed to get the count. Transportation will be something that we also need to consider. Again, transportation, we want folks driving their kids to the maximum extent possible, because when there are more kids on a bus, there's more need to quarantine if we have a positive case. We have windows open, roof hatches are popped, and the bus drivers have been remarkable in having a seating plan so that they know that essentially, if there's a positive case, it's essentially 2 kids in front, the 3 on the side there, and two kids behind. So it doesn't take down. In the beginning of the year, we quarantined an entire bus. But the guidance and the data evolved to be more specific to where we could just isolate much more closer contacts of people. So we're going to engage the staff and we're going to engage this reopening committee to tackle these challenges. Seniors were an easy one because we could bring seniors back and we had the equipment to do it. They want to do it. And then 7 through 11 is a much bigger mass of kids, so we need a little bit more time to get our ducks in a row to get that done the right way. We'll continue so we have greater confidence in our ability to mitigate risk. We use protective barriers. The springtime I mentioned, more windows are open, we're outside more, we have those desks and tables outside where kids can learn. We use those outdoor learning spaces. We have testing for those kids who are engaged in higher risk sports. We still have mask compliance, and then increases in staff vaccination continue to mitigate against that need for quarantine, particularly as the guidance comes out and says if you're vaccinated, you don't need to quarantine. So those shortage challenges that we were facing through the fall and winter will be a little bit less so, thankfully. We'll have a little bit more breathing room. So the new normal, back to our valve again. A lot of this was said. It's not a fully normal and typical routine, but it is getting FaceTime with kids in person more each time we can crank that valve open a little bit more. All safety protocols remain top priority. Masks, barriers, temperature checks, symptom assessment, self-symptom assessment. Our nurses have been doing a remarkable job. We will keep those assessment spaces, those trailers that are on both campuses for the foreseeable future as our nurses continue to handle kids who may be symptomatic. We are bringing clubs and activities and special events online more and more. Mr. Carlson's going to talk about that in a little while. So our next steps, we are purchasing more desk barriers. We are conducting that room-by-room assessment of desk capacity. We're going to survey our parents. Are you comfortable with this? We are operating within the guidance that we are provided. Given all of those certain factors, are you comfortable with your child being in person or remote? Let's make a decision as we finish up the school year. We're going to reconvene that task force, and we're going to shoot for projected return dates. Seniors on March 15th, we're looking at getting over these hurdles in the next couple weeks and bringing grades 7 through 11 who are interested in being back on Monday, April 5th. After spring break. So that would be my recommendation to the board to support that work to keep going in that direction. Mr. Joslin.
How are the parents being notified of this change and reopening?
Yeah, so we have a few parents watching tonight, I'm assuming, in that count. And we have, we'll be doing a survey, so we'll email it out, we'll do a phone blast, we'll communicate in the traditional measures that we have. We are watching numbers in the South. So we're watching numbers in places that may be further along the reopening path than we are. We're also watching some of our neighbors who are further along on the reopening path than we are. Thankfully, the valve that can open can also close. So when kids come back and make the decision to come back, they don't lose their purple or white status. So if we had to, based on the data and the experience that we were experiencing, or the guidance that we're being given, a variant gives us a challenge we don't expect, we can pivot back to where we were. Right now, we're in a position, and we're watching our peers, where we can make the next step. If it holds, we make the next step. If it holds, we make the next step. If it doesn't, we turn the valve backwards, and then we stay in place until circumstances change again. So right now, I guess, the question at hand is, proceeding in this way is a thumbs up. There's not a formal motion we need to take, but I wanted to inform the Board of Education tonight just to say we're moving in this direction, just like we brought special ed students back and those at academic risk. We have the capacity to do it within the guidance and within full safety protocols for seniors. And we have a little bit more work to do for 7 through 11, but we'd like to pursue this work with the goal of bringing those who want to come back on Monday, April 5th. Any reactions or questions to that?
Sounds good.
No, you explained everything. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. So we'll continue to communicate with parents. I don't want anybody walking away saying, all systems go, everything's good. We're going to convene that reopening task force. This is a report on what our next steps over the next hours and days look like as we drive towards this 7 to 11 coming back to some more normalcy. So I want to turn it over for a moment or two to Mr. Carlson, who's just going to talk a little bit about our student activities and clubs that are up and running again. Mr. Carlson.
So we're grateful that we've been able to bring some of these enrichment opportunities back. We thank our building leadership for working with our teachers to bring these experiences back. Many of them you heard, even including our valedictorian acknowledgments tonight. In our elementary school, Tracy Carey and Student Council has been online with students throughout February and organized a Future You Day, which we saw some future doctors, scientists, dancers, teachers, and even a future magician show up in our school. They're planning a spring fling where students will participate in activities, including a crazy bonnet day. So we're looking forward to that fun week in the future. Our K-Kids did an amazing job raising awareness for autism, and with that raised $250 for the Camp Flying Point, which helps support students with autism during the summers. Next, our K-Kids will host a Green Day, selling green necklaces to raise money for the St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Our middle school has just launched their co-curriculars on the 8th, have organized quite well an online calendar as well as Google Meets for our students to meet virtually in their clubs. Each club is going to be aligned with a service activity and a project for students. Our National Junior Honor Society advisors are coordinating with the high school to offer student tutoring and mentorship through our new National Junior Honor Society and National Honor Society students, which is an amazing coordinated effort. And our music classes have started small group in-person lessons with PPE and social distancing protocols in place. Our high school Thespian Society is rehearsing for a production of 12 Angry Men. Our chess club is meeting in person with kids having chess boards and calling out moves at 6 feet apart. Select choir and jazz band have rehearsed weekly in the auditorium and are planning a virtual performance for this June, and that'll be featured on our Hampton Bays YouTube channel. Science Club is utilizing a hybrid model where we have some students in person after school and some of our students meeting virtually from home, conducting flame tests in which students are predicting the color of a flame based upon the substance that's being burned. Our Leo's Club will host a Compassion Week in the near future and connections with seniors and also nursing home residents in our community. And our science research, as we've done last year, will host 2 virtual science research symposiums in April as well. So we're excited that this is a step towards normalcy, and we appreciate these enrichment activities being back online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Also in the realm of student activities and athletic update, we have completed our winter season. That's competitive cheerleading, winter track and field wrestling and basketball. The higher risk sports, so basketball, wrestling, and cheer, had to conduct weekly COVID testing. We conducted 276 tests over the month of February. We had 3 positive results, which is 1.1% of tests administered. So it reinforces that our numbers in school remain lower than the numbers out in the community. We had quarantines of the JV boys basketball team, the varsity girls basketball team, and a subset of the wrestling team based on weight class and who was wrestling, and who was considered close contact at that time. So fall season's underway as well. We've got some good turnout. Football and volleyball have to conduct weekly COVID testing, and you could see the numbers there on your by sport as to where we are with enrollment. I want to offer a special thanks to the Francolini family through the Art Jones Scholarship in memory of Eugene Francolini, who was a school board member in the 1950s or 60s. I'm sorry, in the early 1960s. Mr. Francolini passed away in December, and to honor his memory, a fundraising drive was held to support the Hampton Bays golf program. And so they met with, members of the family met with Coach Foster, and because we're starting the golf season on March 15th in the cold, they'll be outfitted with personalized coats, jackets, and hats. So we thank Francolini family in memory of Mr. Francolini for making that contribution to the program. Our gymnastics program is combined with Southampton. We've done that for the last few years. And girls tennis, the numbers are low, so we won't have an interscholastic program, but there'll be some sort of opportunity for them to engage in the sport over the course of this season. Middle school sports start March 22nd. So as we get one under our belt, and we're looking to the next one. Spectator guidance continues to be the hot topic, the chat in the community. Counties are doing it differently. So we follow Section 11, who's working with our athletic directors, the county executive's office, and the superintendent's association in Suffolk County. In Section 11, no more than 2 spectators per athlete with masks and social distancing are permitted. Section 11 has decided that home and away spectators are allowed for outdoor contests, but only home spectators for indoor contests. They've given the districts the ability to make a more restrictive decision if their facility or capacity didn't allow for what I just said. In Hampton Bays, we are having just home spectators outside and only senior parents inside for our inside athletics this season. It is tight in the gym. When you space out officials, the scoring table, the clock, the teams, it's very tight in the spaces, and so we want to prioritize senior parents right now who are having the last opportunities to watch their kids compete. There is a Section 11 link to every district in Suffolk County, so parents are being given that information to determine so that they know, does the school we're playing this week allow away visitors? A lot are saying no, some are saying yes, and so parents have that information to know what games they can go to. We aren't able to welcome our away parents at this time. And then through Final Form, our booster club has been remarkable in pushing out live stream information as well, whether it's through the NFHS system or through our tech team has been awesome at live streaming those games. Mr. Johnson, do you have a question?
No, I was just going to ask about the security, how that will be handled. Is that all going to be under John Moran?
So Mr. Walker and the chaperone, the team of chaperones that they have, will manage temperature checks. Spectators are being asked to check in with the chaperone to show their ticket. So every athlete's being given 2 tickets. And that information went home to all of the teams on Friday through Final Form. So, and communicated through the coaches to the athletes too on how spectator behavior spectator operations will work. Okay? If guidance changes and our ability to accommodate a different set of circumstances changes, then we'll respond and we'll make those changes at that time. Okay, on the horizon, just generally what's going on in our offices beyond everything we've just discussed. The 21-22 school year, I was engaged with Commissioner Rosa earlier today and her senior staff on what the 21-22 school year might look like. We're being told multiple plans. They're going to be based on SED, DOH guidance, governor's office guidance. We hope they'll come sooner than July 17th, which is where they came last year, and called some people back from their vacations and time off to get the reopening plans done. Vaccinations, working on getting everybody who wants a vaccine, both staff and our community members. We expect that next year there'll be some level of social distancing, face covering. All of those guidance components still are out there. Prom and graduation. I know a bunch of ears just perked up who are watching. We will have some sort of prom experience and graduation based on the guidance as it sits today. So there are limitations on gathering. We'll be meeting with Mr. Richard and our advisors on how we can put a prom experience together for kids, specifically in the class of 2021. If we could do something for the juniors, great, but right now the seniors are our priority. Graduation, there's different guidelines on indoor and outdoor gathering size, testing requirements. Our ability to test is still an open question. Right now, we're only authorized to test athletes in higher risk sports. But rest assured, while I don't have this is what it's going to look like, you have the commitment from everybody in this room that the class of 2021, these are hallmark experiences for them, and we want to be able to deliver them within the guidance. Okay? And I mentioned kindergarten registration that is underway. Let's look towards the future. I'm going to turn to Larry for just a couple more slides, and then we'll be on our way. Thank you, everybody. Larry's going to talk about where we are with the budget.
Thanks, Mr. Clemenson. Board members, as you know, while it may be spring, but it's fall season, or it was winter, and we played some winter season sports. What really matters to me and what is in my heart is it's budget season. So as we've begun the budget development for 21-22 school year, we're following many of the same principles we followed in past years, maintaining jobs for the critical positions and required positions. We don't want to cut things that hastily or unnecessarily. We want to maintain programs that align with the goals that you all have and the district has. We try to preserve reserves for their intended purposes. We don't want to end up in a situation where we've budgeted for something and then we have to dip into reserves to make that happen. And we also keep the tax cap in mind at all times, trying to make sure that we stay under that tax cap. Right now, I can tell you that as we've been developing the budget, it's balanced, it works out, and we are projecting to be under the tax cap as we have been each year so far.
Great.
We're looking to bring the budget proposal to you in next month, in April, to the Board of Ed meeting for approval on April 20th. We have been working with the budget managers as they've been completing their budgets for next year. I've met with Mr. Meyer and Mr. Richard and had a great meeting going with Mr. Pagano on Friday. It looked like the special ed budget was the way certain students were graduating and so on. And it was really looking great. And then he called me up about a half an hour later and said, "Oh, I got 3 new entrants," and he blew about $300,000, and there it went. So
Lose some.
what's that? You win some, you lose some. That's
Dollars-wise.
that's the story of my life when it goes to budgeting. Absolutely. But all in all, budgeting is going really well. I'm pleased with how things are panning out. As we look at our revenue projections for next year, our tax cap doesn't leave us a lot of room to be under the tax cap. Our projected tax revenue will increase only a little over $500,000, or about 1.1%. Our local revenue remains about flat. We don't often project that change because any change is really usually insignificant anyway. And then our state aid, we see some increase, almost a 5% increase, but it equates to just under $300,000 of change in increase. All in all, it allows us to have a budget of roughly $56 million, or about a 1.5% increase budget to budget. If we look at the graphs, Andy, can you go ahead 2 slides, please? There we go. Thank you. If we look at the graphs historically, what budget development has been like, we've pretty much, since the tax levy came into play, had budgets that stayed always under the tax cap and really have been averaging around 2%. This year, as in last, we're going to beat that average considerably. Our budget to budget is, as I said, only around 1.5%. and our tax levy to tax levy is only about 1.12%. So real small increases percentage-wise, and probably almost the lowest increases we've had in the last 10 years. The 16-17 school year was our lowest in the last 10 years, but real low increases. And then the last thing I want to cover just on budget, Andy, if you go to the next slide, please. Just important dates for budget development. The 1st of April through the 15th of April, you'll see legal notices in the paper, just informing everyone about the school budget vote and the school budget vote hearing. April 19th is the deadline for candidates for school board elections and for any petitions. That's a 5 p.m. deadline, Monday, April 19th. April 20th, again, is our board meeting, so that's when we hope we'll have our final budget workshop and we'll approve the budget proposal. April 22nd is the last legal notice in the paper. May 4th, all copies of the budget will be available for public review online, at the library, in the various places that we get them out in the schools. May 8th will be the budget newsletter delivered to residents. May 11th will be the budget hearing. May 12th, the 6-day budget notice will be mailed out. May 13th is the last day for the clerk to mail absentee ballots, if anyone wants an absentee ballot for voting. And it'll be the last day to register to vote locally in the school budget. May 18th will be budget vote day. And June 15th we won't need, because that would be the second vote if needed, and we won't need that. So we're going to ignore that day because I don't like that day. Thank you very much, board members.
Thank you.
One thing I'll mention, there'll be I'm sure there'll be questions about what the vote will look like. You remember last year that we had a fully absentee ballot election. We expect to get guidance on that's a word I want to leave after post-pandemic too, guidance. Not guidance counselors, but just guidance. We'll be receiving some guidance from the state on what it will look like. What I anticipate it will look like is a socially distanced ability to vote in person and the allowance to get an absentee ballot for fear of COVID if you want it. So that's not current. In the old world, you would have to have a certain set of reasons to request an absentee ballot, otherwise you're not eligible for one. I expect the eligibility to get an absentee ballot to be more relaxed, but there will be an in-person vote. So Mrs. Pandolfo, our district clerk, is working towards preparing for what that would look like in terms of sanitizing pens and distancing and what it's going to look like. We have the whole gym to use, so thankful for that. So thank you, everyone, for that long report and a lot of information.
Thank you, Lars, Mr. Carlson, Mr. Luce. All right, we will get back to business here, and I think we will do a consent agenda from 4A to 4E. I will need a motion.
Motion?
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. 5A is by itself. We'll need a motion for that.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Consent agenda from 6A to 6K. Any questions? Any concerns?
I'd just like to note in there, in the personnel section, we have a number of teachers and staff members who will graduate their career as well. We will recognize them formally at the June board meeting, but their resignations are being accepted tonight for the purposes of retirement. So we congratulate Mrs. Conrad at the elementary school, Mrs. Farrow and Mrs. Florimon, who are teacher aides at the middle and elementary school, Mr. Fotopoulos, business teacher here at the high school, Mr. Iannelli, science teacher here in the high school, Mrs. Jocelyn, a second grade teacher, Mrs. Lombardo, third grade teacher, Mrs. McCauley, social studies teacher, Mrs. Merman, a speech language pathologist at the middle school, Mrs. Moran, middle school grade 5 teacher, Mrs. Vermette, an elementary school special education teacher, and Mrs. Walker, teacher assistant at the middle school and life skills program. So we're going to recognize and celebrate their careers in June, but we'll accept their resignations tonight. You will as a board.
Okay, then I will need a motion for 6A to 6K.
Motion?
You need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. 7A to 7B, I need a motion.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. 8, public comment. Persons may address the Board of Education on any matters of interest or concern. The board president will recognize all speakers. Time limits may be imposed based upon agenda needs. Got anything out there, Mr. Farrar?
No.
Nothing? Okay, with that being said, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you all. Be safe and good night.
Thank you.
Good night.